Be fast. I don't want to be trapped here alone. We could get out together.
Walking. Very boring, am I right? Walking simulators have been around for a long time. It's not a lot of people's things, but certainly an experience that some enjoy. But when you combine this genre with horror, it derails itself from being a relaxing experience to a holy shit get me out of here situation. I'm not talking about survival horror games like Alien Isolation or Resident Evil. It's those games where you just walk through the experience with no real sense of being killed or having to restart. It's more of an atmospheric experience, whether it's trenching through the deep woods or feeling trapped in Japan. The genre has exploded thanks to more attention to games like the LSD Dream emulator and recent indie games from Chili Arts and Rouse Studios. But there's one developer that caught my eye whose catalog of games consists of these elements and made by one person, Vidas Games. Now, there isn't a whole lot of information about him besides his crazy ass guitar skills and his game catalog, and wow, it's stacked. It seems like he began publishing his games around 2014, and since then he hasn't stopped. The man has made in total 35 games in the span of 8 years. Although some do consist of the same formula, for example, you're stuck inside a rundown building or city and a strange entity lingers around you. Most of it also consists of you walking or interacting with the environment. However, considering that it's mostly free for almost all of his games, it's hard to complain about. His style is very raw and unfinished, but his unapologetic roughness gives this uncanny look that distorts itself from reality and enhances the creatures and world designs to a much greater extent. In addition to that, he's also exploring other genres like boomer shooters and romance. In this video, I have selected 4 games to cover: Insomnis Experiment, Timore Remake, Dia, and Asylum. I chose these games to see how he changes the pace when it comes to the walking simulator genre, and despite having the same formula, still making them really terrifying experiences. If you guys want to check out the games featured in this video and links to his Steam and itch.io, it's at the description. Whilst you're there though, you may also do a cheeky little subscribe and maybe a smash to the like button. Okay, thanks, mwah. This was one of the more recent releases that got a fair bit of attraction due to the subject matter, which is based on the legendary creepypasta story, The Russian Sleep Experiment. For those that don't know, The Russian Sleep Experiment was a fictional story about Russian scientists experimenting a stimulant that would allow soldiers to not sleep for 30 days. This, of course, is stupid and everyone goes crazy. Now, what made the story quite famous was the accompanying image of the smiling humanoid pound figure who turned out to be a really good Halloween prop. However, this one story laid the foundation for Vidas to develop this. As you step further into the narrow corridors, exploring each and every empty room, the black and white aesthetic helps to match the period of the 1940s, giving this unnerving feeling of reality. Despite the story being fiction, human experimentation was happening during World War II. Like, holy shit, it's barely borderline surrealistic when this shit was happening in real life. During our exploration, we would encounter these recordings of the doctor.
We kept them for 15 days, breathing that gas. Awake.
There was once life here, looking over the test subjects, but as each encounter of the recordings becomes more panicked and scared, the unlikely chance that we would find anyone alive.
The test subject had his abdominal organs removed. The doctor was cutting and trying to place the organs back. They were not people anymore. They ate their own flesh, ripped their own organs out. I looked at his eyes and his mouth curled into a smile.
The voices that the recordings mention start to manifest in your head, debating whether they are happening with you right now or you're imagining it. However, the voices start to become more real.
We no longer want to be freed.
The steam rising against the pipes, probably the same one used for the test subjects, as one of them starts to find you. No matter what effort you try, what the voices say, or what you get back, he will find you. Timore Remake is an interesting game. This is, as the name suggests, a remake of one of the first games he's developed, Timore, in 2014. It has become one of his long-lasting game series, having a total of 10 games developed, 6 sequels, 1 spin-off, 1 full-fledged survival horror game, and 2 remakes, with one of the remakes including Timore Remake. Timore Remake feels like a small piece of the larger aspects of Timore Redo, the survival horror game I mentioned. However, this does not take away the fact of how terrifying this game is. First of all, the factory-like environment looks cramped and dirty. Barely any light illuminates the rooms. The only way to guide you through it is any light source or your flashlight that barely works. And I know this is intentionally done. The flashlight is always the saving grace in horror games, but now that it's useless, you have to follow your instincts, map the area in your head, and interact with objects. It makes you feel more active and paying attention to details, especially when the mannequins arrive. These have got to be the freakiest motherfuckers I've ever seen. The best part about it is that they don't do anything. They stand there and look at your every move. As you progress through the game, they will keep morphing themselves until the very end. The game's use of closed hallways, bathrooms, and locker rooms makes this such a claustrophobic experience, and you feel like you're trapped as the mannequins corner you. As you go deeper into the building, it morphs to become more lively than you thought of. Once you reach to the end, they will catch you off guard when you least expect it. Dia is one of his more unique games. It sort of diverts itself from his other horror games. It's still in a linear structure, but the area feels open. It feels more breathable. Even you can look at the sky. But what makes it still eerie is because it's so open, you can't see everything around you. And with the addition of the heavy fog, you always get this feeling that you're being watched. However, as you pick up the walkie-talkie, there's another person in that same location.
If anyone's listening to this, don't get close to the body. Don't touch it. It's not what you think. It's a dead man. What am I saying? But if anyone is out there...
You may have noticed the population board spewed around the buildings. Obviously there should be 1, right? You're the only person in the city. But when it increases to 2, something else is alive and you're not alone. The narrow hallways create this uncomfortable feeling that you're going to be chased down in it, and how this other person is really suspicious, having her radio turned on but not talking. A lot of people will see the same body model as being kind of lazy, but I actually kind of love that he used the same body model in every encounter. I like to think that he did this to 1, give this deja vu effect that in which you could be seeing the same thing over and over, and 2, it could be some kind of a lure to either frighten or intrigue the player to keep moving in order to get to her. However, once we leave the hallway, the scene changes into this unfamiliar place.
I'm in here. Come quick.
But we can still talk to her, so maybe we can keep going.
It might not hide itself anymore at night. Please be fast. I don't want to be trapped here alone. We could get out together.
But what we don't realize is that we are stuck in her domain.
actually came here.
Sorrow Asylum is the only price game I played on this list. Whilst the rest were all free, this one was $5, and for good reason. This is way longer than the rest I played, being around 40 minutes long, while the rest were either just walking simulators or even some puzzle solving. Sorrow Asylum includes moments in which it's possible that the character could die. The main premise of the game is that you are stuck in a loop in an asylum, and you must progress each day by finding the calendar dates until the 15th day. As each day progresses, some locations become more open, revealing the treacherous secrets behind this asylum. On your way, you encounter Lara, another patient in the asylum who's not a good person, as she tries to mess with your head by distorting the asylum, eases into your mind, and catches you off guard when the plague doctor appears.
There he is.
The asylum itself is rotting and disheveled. There are locked doors, a dark staircase with a rounded corner that kind of messes with your head, thinking that something might appear around it. As it goes on, Lara starts to distort the buildings, revealing fleshy walls, flashing lights, and the ways of her killing herself. The atmosphere again is really solid. I generally felt uncomfortable trying to move around the asylum as it screws around with my head, whether that the plague doctor would chase me, Laura showing up and scaring the shit out of me, or what next discovery I'm uncovering. Like seriously, going down the staircase and this dark void ahead, you don't know what's gonna happen and creates this anticipation that something's gonna happen. I enjoyed this one a lot, and there's a sequel that seems to expand the characters of Lara and the Plague Doctor and the history behind the asylum. And those were the 4 games I wanted to cover. I didn't want to cover everything in each game, mainly because they were very short experiences, and I do want some people to be really curious as to how the story is, and how it plays, and what the jump scares are. Because I generally think if you go into these games a blind eye, then I think you will really have a really great time with it. Honestly, these games do such a great job of making you scared shitless trying to walk around the environment, even if some are widely different between them. And whilst of course they follow some tropes, Vidas creates its own unique style and designs to really expand on them, especially with Timore and Sorrow Asylum. Please go check these games out, and also other works from Vidas, generally a really cool dev creating really cool horror games that's available to the public. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.